people aren't one-dimensional. There's more to them than just flesh and blood.
Hello, all, and welcome to another episode of the Win and In podcast, episode 32. I am your host, Eric Dauernheim. No Gabe today, but we do have a special guest today. We have Kiki. You might know as Kiki Shadow of Solana. You might know from the Rainbow Foil Discord, or you might even know from the Rainbow Pitch League, right? Am I saying that?
The Rainbow Pitch League, yeah.
Awesome. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Yeah, there's just been a lot going on regarding the league and stuff. So I've been pretty busy the last couple months, but
Oh yeah,
I'm awake and I'm here.
yeah. That league is in full swing right now. It's been exciting. It's been like the content between content. Like
Yeah.
you get to see what matches are going on. I know a few people in there, so it's kind of cool to root for like Ellie and Arya. So it's kind of cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. Okay, well, we have a lot to get into with this episode. We'll obviously go more into that a little later on, but we'll first talk about what just happened this last weekend, and that is calling Birmingham, our first calling of this new set, this new meta.
Yeah.
And a returning hero once again taking the victory with Icelander.
Just back-to-back-to-back wins with Icelander at this point.
It's insane.
Yeah, no, the deck's been really good from like what I can see. Like it's been really efficient at stopping all these sort of mid-range sort of decks. And being just kind of disruptive enough to kind of get over like all these other aggressive classes, I guess. Like Yeah. Frostbite
time because they definitely do. I mean, the fact that this top 8 was so cool because we saw 2 new heroes enter it. 2 old heroes coming back up is Katsu and Azalea, so that was cool. Yeah. But also extremely interesting is no Dromai, and even more interesting, no Lexi in this top 8. Yeah,
the 2 decks people kind of expected to be the most popular and like the most powerful decks in the format. We even saw that kind of in the numbers going into the Swiss portion of the event where they were the 2 most represented. And Azalea especially for me is very surprising considering how much people are putting weight into Warmonger's I can't remember the name. Starts with the D.
Diplomacy. Everyone says Warmongers. Yeah. Oh yeah,
the Warmonger's Diplomacy. With that card being like especially good into Azalea, like I just did not expect that hero to do anything at all this weekend. But here we are in the top 8.
Yeah, very true. And all credit too. I actually have the name pulled up here. Well, I don't know how to say that last name, but Stefano running the Azalea. So all credit to Stefano there. We got to see Uzuri's back up. But another big thing on this top 8 is 3 Bravos.
Yeah.
So the Guardian's back.
Yeah. The new card, Starstruck, has just been super impressive. Like within my own testing and seeing it happen in real time at the calling, like that card has been so good. It's functionally like another Spinal Crush against most other classes, but one that hits for 10 instead of 9 and pitches for slightly more resources. Sure. It's kind of just more of what Bravo wants and kind of what Bravo needs to be that disruptive, powerful, almost aggro class that it is now. Meanwhile, still having the massive defensive capabilities with the Unity on that card to just kind of block out, as we kind of saw in the finals as well.
Yeah, a lot of
semi-finals.
Right. Yeah. The finals was a little bit different, but I think you nailed it on the head perfectly. Like Bravo has just very well that it just comes in really big and super disruptive with his crush abilities. But then, he could just still play his defensive role that he's so good at doing. Pablo Pintor in the finals against Samuel Braben. Pablo on Bravo. So I think what we're seeing is a lot of Oldham players shift into Bravo. It's a pretty easy shift, honestly. And Bravo has really found his stride in this calling particularly.
Yeah. Definitely one of the classes I expect to see more of going into national season as well. That and Icelander. But the callings do kind of have an effect on what heroes people tend to start seeing and playing.
It is very true. I think the battle horns were great to kind of get like that early meta presence, but truly, I believe that this calling here is going to really set the precedent
Hmm.
on what to expect for the national season, which is right around the corner, like less than
Yeah,
a month at this point.
yeah.
Super exciting. Yeah. Are you playing in nationals?
Yes, I qualified through a Roach National, so very convenient. I
Oh,
haven't been able to play very much this year at all, so qualifying through that is great. Unfortunately, the new dash support won't arrive in time, I think.
so true. Yeah, and that's perfect too. That's our perfect transition right there. Let's get into
Yeah.
that real quick because that is the big news. The calling big news for
Hmm.
sure, but
Hmm.
this is huge.
Yeah.
Hey, this is the perfect podcast to come on. This is the perfect episode. Bright lights. We're going to metrics for the first time.
Hmm.
It's gonna be all mechanologist set. That has never been done before, and what that's insane.
It seems like such a different set. Like they talked about how sealed is a 4-pack format rather than six,
You know,
which obviously is much more achievable when there's only one class to kind of work with.
right?
Um, but also like the I can't remember the term they used now, but the spot where like the cold foils would go can now have like
Right.
different cards in it. Like you can now get non-foil versions of like well, you could always get a non-foil version of a tunic, but you could get more tunics and maybe some other exciting things. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, and then just a whole different style of play for mechanologists as well. These equipments that don't block for anything, but you can upgrade. Like I feel like that's kind of flavor mechanologist has been missing so far. Like this idea of upgrading you, I guess. Um,
Yeah, yeah. It feels like mechanologist has been like infamous for having the least amount of cards in the card pool.
mhm,
And I almost wonder how like much this was in the works because of this whole set being mechanologist. So now you gotta imagine that mechanologist just doubles its card pool
mhm,
size. And but like you said, there's an opportunity to get non-mechanologist card, and the big one being the tunic. So getting the
mhm.
tunic reprint here too.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I think one of the big ones that I'm the most excited about the tunic. I got really excited about. I own the tunic, so I'm good.
mhm,
But like the more tunes are out there, the more players can come
yeah,
in. And that's really cool. But the thing I'm most excited about is this Teklo Boston guy. Like I
yeah.
am so stoked. This kind of I'm a control player,
Mhm,
so this kind of in light, like attracts me a little bit from a mechanologist control standpoint. I wonder if that's what this could be. I don't have to play
yeah,
Tree Frog the Ash. Maybe I could play this new guy and like get good equipment.
yeah. So like his deck suggests to me that he's going to have a lot of blue resources. His ability costs 3. The modification they showed costs 4 and pitches for blue. So and like
Yeah,
his tank attack is like 6 cost for 6, which is like
yeah,
pretty below right, but obviously it gets a lot better the more kind of stuff you have on the field. Um, but yeah, this feels very like high resource requirements control style deck, almost like old school Bravos. And of course, all the mechanologist cards block for 3 unless they're items as well. So yeah, no, I think like a control list is probably like the first kind of variant we'll see of the Teklo Vossen character. Um,
yeah.
yeah.
I think that's pretty accurate. I'm excited for it. Definitely am. I'm curious about some of these other cards, like the Evo Steel Soul Memory has
Hmm.
a barcode on it, so
Yeah.
I don't know about
I
that.
suspect that might be hiding some text underneath it.
I think so. I think you're on to something there.
I wonder if it's solvable though. Like, I wonder if you could like scan it with a scanner kind of thing and figure out what it is. But it goes across multiple lines, so maybe not. But
I
it
don't
would be the
know.
kind of thing, or if it like leads to some binary code where you can then figure it out from there. Um,
I wouldn't be surprised. LSS does a pretty good job of doing the little stuff like that, so I wouldn't be too surprised. Seems like we're gonna get a new Dash.
hmm
Dash.
That's what
What
excites me the
number?
most. I
Oh
quite
yeah.
like the hero. Um,
Okay.
been playing her since Arcane Rising, so big fan.
Right.
Um, but she clearly like kind of gets more sleek. Like her aesthetic moves a bit away from like the steampunk kind of aesthetic we have going on there to
True.
something a bit more cyberpunky. So like whether like I don't know how they're going to represent that. If she's still going to have like the same sort of mechanics, I presume she's still going to play around with items. And like if the other thing I'm really asking myself or wondering about is whether like this new hero ability is going to be more powerful than just starting the game with an induction chamber in play.
Yes, that is definitely the question mark for sure. And I almost wonder, like, it's definitely gonna have a new hero ability. We're not doing an item as well. There's no way.
Hmm.
But I mean, who knows? I don't know. We're supposed to get 30 new items. There's supposed to be a new crank mechanic. So
Hmm.
I gotta imagine that's where she's gonna be like drifting
Yeah.
towards. Yeah. So oh, and then the other thing is, I don't. You like Dash. You've been
Hmm.
playing Dash a minute or two. Uh,
Just a bit.
what do you think of that weapon?
Which weapon, sorry?
The weapon that she's, so we don't know
Oh,
what
right,
it
yeah.
is.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was trying to
yeah.
think of a card. Yeah, well, it maybe could be a new pistol. Um, in which case, the old items will get more powerful because they specifically require pistol.
Right.
Conversely, it might not be a pistol on the basis they kind of want to move away from induction chamber control style, maybe. Or induction chamber aggro decks, maybe. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
One thing to note is that she's holding in one hand.
yeah,
Not to
yeah.
say
So
that
it's a
it's
one.
necessarily going to be one-handed. Like we
Right.
see Prism, for example, holding Luminaris, which isn't one-handed, but she holds it in one hand.
That's true.
Um,
Yeah.
but there's a chance, there's a possibility that this could be a one-handed item, and maybe we get an offhand. But that's
Oh,
purely
dual
speculation
wielder.
at this point.
Dual wielder would
Yeah,
be
or two.
sick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that could be one of the ways to get around maybe having multiple induction chambers is by having the ability to have two weapons rather than one weapon and a repeatable
Right.
source of attacking.
Might be cool. That'd be
Yeah.
fun. I'm excited. Looks
Hmm.
so much cool. Like I wasn't sure how to feel about it because I'm like, man, of all mechanologist set, like
Yeah.
unless like I'm super invested in mechanologist, am I really gonna want this? And then I just kept reading, and I was like, yeah, I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so super super exciting. So back to the note of nationals because I'm just kind of curious.
Hmm.
Do you plan to play Dash or is another hero you're looking at?
So Dash is the hero that I've played at every national so far. So in New Zealand, we've had three of them so far. This being our fourth one. Um, so there's probably a high likelihood, but I have been playing other decks in the meantime just to kind of learn how they play and also try to figure them out. So I've been playing a bit of Lexi, a bit of Prism. My teammates have been playing Levia, so
Hmm.
I can kind of learn secondhand from them by that. But with a month to go, I do kind of have to pick one of these before
Yeah,
we get into
it's
it.
getting here.
So Dash is probably the way I'm going to go. And now I can hear like New Zealand making their sideboard notes for it already because there's not that many Dash players here anymore. Like I guess Matt Rogers played Dash
Yeah,
recently
he played
at the
Dash
calling.
at the calling. Yeah, he did day
So
two with it too.
yeah. So there's a non-zero chance I won't be the only one on the hero, but I don't expect it to be high in numbers, but I'll probably end up on it just because I feel so comfortable with the deck at this point.
That's
Um,
fair.
yeah, I can't play Lexi to save my life, apparently.
I mean, I had my Lexi phase, and we broken up. It's not working. Yeah.
Fair and valid. Yeah, I just don't know how to draw three of a kind and rain razors in the same turn, apparently. Just ever.
Yeah, it doesn't come naturally to some people. It definitely does.
Hmm.
Um, on the dash note, we had Max Ferocity on last week,
Yeah. Hmm.
which was awesome. Another renowned dash player.
Very much so, yeah.
um, she said that she was feeling like just stoked for Blitz. She took the super armory down there.
Hmm.
How are you feeling for Blitz with dash?
So I ended up playing Dash at Worlds as well for Blitz. It's
Nice.
probably the most like I don't play Blitz very often, but when I do, it's usually Dash. Um, it's just such a powerful aggressive deck, and like it's weird that Talishar is like the preferred weapon if you're not going with this induction chamber pistol plan.
It's true.
And
It's
with this
true.
new change they made in skirmish season, and maybe in the future where you can actually have multiple kind of sideboard plans, not just equipment.
Mm-hmm.
I think that favors Dash a lot more. Like you can now play the
Oh.
defense reactions if you want to play the pistol and have them in your sideboard. You can sideboard
Oh.
out of the chamber if you're going to go into the Talishar aggro plan, so you don't have this awkward non-block red card. So I
Right.
think Dash, based on like my teammates who do play a lot of Blitz, like I think it is one of the top decks in the format right now, and you can kind of just go over the top of most decks. But it's still a mechanologist deck, and like the ceiling isn't as high as others. So, for example, like a friend of mine got beaten by a ninja who just Art of Ward twice and had a
Oh.
massive turn going second, or two massive turns going second. And there's not really much you can do about that as mechanologist. You're still hindered by the fact that the majority of your deck does have to be mechanologist cards, and a lot of
It's
them are
true.
pretty vanilla outside of Go again.
Yeah,
So,
that is true. That is the unfortunate part.
mhm.
But she is one of the few heroes that's, puts Kano in a quaking state. So
Yeah.
that part feels pretty nice.
Hmm.
Um, I am looking at because there's a battle hardened in Birmingham as well.
Hmm.
That was Blitz, and I'm looking at the top eight, and it's looking just as diverse. No dashes,
Hmm.
but there's Ira, Kano, Chain, Kasai, Phi, which I didn't even think was a thing in Blitz. Briar and Reinar. So only Kano repeating there. Ira taking the whole thing, which maybe that's the drone brutality. I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see what this list is too. But it's a good, like, I don't know. I like the more open metas.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'm stoked with this. This is looking really nice.
It's very cool to have 7 different heroes. It was 7, right? So only one repeat?
Seven different
Yeah.
heroes. Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
cool. What I haven't actually seen it myself, but what I noticed about that top 8 is that most of those classes have high roll potential, which is kind of the Blitz format and what you kind of need to
Yes.
do. With such a low life
Yes.
total, like you need to be able to apply pressure very quickly. Um, it's funny because Ira taking it out, Ira's arguably the least high rolly of those decks. Like it's the most consistent.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're going 1-2-6 or 1-7, like,
Yeah.
but I really like that deck as well. Like that's my favorite Blitz deck, and the one I was playing because Drone of Brutality wasn't legal at Worlds, so I switched to Dash. But
Makes sense.
yeah, no, that's really cool that there were so many different heroes there, and
Yeah. Yeah.
a lot of variety. And it is Kano's best format, like the format Kano's best in, so it makes sense
Yeah.
to have 2 of them there.
Yeah. He wasn't even in the final. I mean, two in the semifinal. The two made it, past the first
Hmm.
round. But the finals was Ira versus Briar. So pretty
Hmm.
cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Uh, yeah. All right. So yeah, that's the big news of this weekend and Monday here,
Hmm.
um, which is huge news. But yeah, that's let's get to talking more about the what's going on, what is continually going on, which is the Rainbow Pitch League. That has been trucking for a little while now, and like I said, it's been very nice because it's something that you can enjoy, like between the battle horns, between the callings. You can
Yeah.
kind of see the progress, and we're seeing, like I said, I know Arya. I now know Ellie. I got to meet Ellie this last weekend.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, yeah. I went down to Texas to see the folks, and there Ellie was, and I finally got to meet him. So it was a great experience. Um, and yeah, so now I got a few more people to root for there.
Hmm.
Uh, so yeah, I was just kind of curious on what brought that out. What kind of developed that league?
So it kind of started long ago, maybe over a year ago, when I was introduced to Melody. Um,
Okay.
we were I kind of, how do I put it? Not quite introduced her to the game, but like I was one of the first people she met through the game, like purely through the
Cool.
game.
Cool.
And early on in our friendship, we kind of noticed like, hey, like there's a bunch of people in the minority kind of in our game, whether they be like queer folk, trans folk, women, like
Yeah.
who are, and like these groups are minorities in our games or in TCG cultures in general, like
For
they're
sure.
minorities. So we tried to find ways to kind of like uplift and inspire them, bring them together, etc. So that's when Melody and Elaine started Pitch Perfect as like a podcast and a Discord community, and then I started Rainbow Foils as a Discord community. And sometime last year around the Worlds, we kind of started offhandedly suggesting like, hey, like, what if we run like a tournament kind of thing for these people? Like, for our communities, we put them together to like support each other. And there's definitely a lot of crossover between our communities as well. So we kind of figured it'd be like a kind of fun idea to kind of do it. And we didn't think it'd be that big. We kind of just joked about it, and then we just kept on like saying it in conversations with each other. Until eventually we're like, why don't we just actually do it? Now, in terms of like experience with this, I manage a game store in New Zealand, so I have a little bit of experience with like running tournaments, but I had no clue looking back at it, like what it took to actually start an event from scratch to an online, much larger scale. So that's a bit of a challenge, but it was really cool though. Like we kept on like meeting up every Friday, or almost every Friday, trying to figure out what we needed to do. So we're like, we need to figure out sponsors, how that's going to work. We're going to need to figure out players, round time, how much time should we give them, what kind of length of time per round do we kind of expect people to play. Functionally, this league is one tournament. Like, this was just a 6-round top 8 cut tournament, but due to the nature of this being online and people having to actually meet up across time zones and such, like, it's been 1 week per round. You have 1 week to play your game. So this experience has been over 2 months now, and it's been delayed. We initially planned to start doing it on February,
right?
And we ended up starting in June. There's a lot more stuff that we realized we needed to do, and like we just like drop little hints every now and then, just to kind of tease or like kind of get it into people's minds slowly. But functionally, yeah, it's just like a 6-round top 8 tournament filled with people from the women community and other, how do I put this, like gender non-conforming community, I guess. Like,
I didn't know anything about it until I knew someone who was a part of the Rainbow Foil Discord. Claire, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know how many Claires are there, so I wasn't sure. But through Claire, I found out that this Rainbow League was going on, and after that, I just was starting to get a little bit more invested. And then y'all did a great job because y'all got the sponsors. There's it's a website you can look. There's tons of sponsors. Of course, you got some recognizable names. You got Yuki Lee Bender in there, so that's kind of cool. And then you're in there. You got the Rainbow Pitch podcast in there. I mean, it's just. It was kind of cool to like see something that was happening, but it wasn't like Realms games, where it was like, in your like, hey, this is going on and whatnot. It was something that was kind of like, oh, this is kind of like just kind of something nice to just kind of have in the background sort of deal. It's been cool. It's been really cool.
Yeah, a lot of our like advertising, I guess, for this event has been like pretty targeted. Like, a lot of it was like,
it makes sense.
word of mouth to people, especially for like the sign up period. And then of course we did like make a Twitter account and stuff, but for the most part we've kind of avoided putting it too out there, I guess. But we still want to be noticed. Like, one of our key things is to shine a spotlight on the people in our community that you might not have heard of before and might have seen in events. So it's really cool. One of our top 8 participants has never top 8'd an event before.
That's awesome.
Or at least like at a bigger like kind of event past Weekly Armories kind of thing. So like I'm really proud of her for like getting this top 8 against a pretty strong field. Like, we have people like Yuki, who's like an inaugural national champion. We have people like Mara, who's a finalist at a pro tour. We even have
Mara.
And we have Sable from Australia, who was top 8 in callings in Singapore as well. Like, and it's lost for words. There's just so many fantastic players in here, and we're seeing these people that no one's heard of in our community because they just haven't had the opportunities, and we're providing them the opportunity to be a bit more out there in flesh and blood. And that was one of the goals I wanted with this event, is to kind of inspire more people. Like, it's kind
I
of
think
funny.
that's awesome.
So, um, years ago now, 2021, I was in the calling,
Okay.
and I finished second against Matt Rogers, in the calling.
Not
And
bad.
I mean, I can't be mad at that, right?
Pretty good.
And during that event, I had kind of this nail polish on in the colors of like the non-binary
I
flag, and
remember that. Yes.
nails in the colors of like the trans flag, and it was very cool. And I kind of offhandedly did it before the event, being like, "What if they show me on camera?" And then I didn't expect to do that well, obviously. Um, but after that, I kind of got reached out to by a whole bunch of people, being like, "Hey, it's really cool that you're representing our community. Like, I've never seen anyone do well at this event, kind of thing. And like, I just want to thank you for representing us." And like, that made me feel really cool because like, I love attention, but also like, it made me feel really happy for the community that they had
Yeah.
somebody to kind of look up to at that time. So kind of my goal in Flesh and Blood since has been to try to uplift more people to be in that position, so they can reach out to more people, or more people can reach out to them, kind of thing. Um, so that's why I wanted this league personally, just to kind of bring more people up to the
That's
forefront.
a that's a that's a good, like, that's a heartwarming story. That's a good one. I like that. That's really awesome. I mean, how many people did you end up getting in the league?
Okay, so there's a bit of a story with this one as well.
Oh,
When
okay, let's hear it.
when Elaine and I think Melody was asleep at the time,
Okay.
but when we were first talking about it, we're like, maybe we'll get like 30 people. Like 30 seems like a good number, and I was like, well, 30 is close to 32, and if we get 34, we'll need a sixth round, which means the cap should be 64 people. But there's no way we're going to reach 64. That'll be, that's just how much we need to officially put down as our cap is 64. So we put 64 people down, and we're like, okay, cool. 2-week registration process. We're good. Within 4 days, we hit cap. And we're like, okay. So, we do loosely have plans to do this again in the future.
Awesome.
And I suspect the cap will be more than 64 this time.
Cool. Yeah, I'm very curious on how big that tournament can actually
Yeah.
get. Like, now, like you said, it's not like the easiest thing to run a tournament that goes through so many time zones online. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe that 64 cap was needed just to kind of have a little bit of a break for the first time. But it's been exciting, and I'm excited. I would be all about getting another
Mm-hmm.
one, and seeing where that one goes as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting a bit more of an idea of like how to present our league and how to do more content for it, so like people can actually view it more. So we kind of started with video content from week 3 onwards, I want to say.
Yeah. I think that's when I was able to start watching some here and there. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was nice. Yeah. Okay. Well, so that's been going on, and we're in the top eights now.
Mm-hmm.
Who's our favorite? What do we think of here?
So we're actually in top 4,
That's right.
but
Okay.
we haven't announced that yet, on the basis that we still have 2 more games that we need to produce and kind of put
Okay.
out into the world before we announce it, because I don't really want to spoil any results for
Fair
anyone.
enough. Yeah. That's fair.
But Yuki and I actually did commentary for one of the games yesterday, which I think I actually put that up last night. But I just got a result in for one of the top 4 games as well, so I sneakily know who's going into the finals, or one of the participants in the finals.
That's cool.
But yeah, no, going into the event, I don't want to say I had my biases, but like, I definitely had Yuki making it into at least top 8. So I also thought Mara was going to top 8, but then they ended up playing in the win in, and it kind of.
I know. Oh yeah, I guess you can't have everything,
No.
but no, regardless, like, that was a good run, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, it's a fun thing to watch for sure. So you're talking about possibly getting like a like different or like trying to like bring it out to more attention.
Hmm.
Like, would that be with like YouTube or what was your thoughts there as far as like being more accessible to like view and maybe even just to like more accessible to join as well.
Hmm. Well, in terms of like getting our content more consistent and getting it more out there, one of the discussions that I've had with Elaine and Melody is how can we like maybe integrate our Twitter account more into our website. So that way you don't have to be a Twitter user to see all the updates that we kind of have if that's the kind of thing you're interested in. We haven't
That
really
makes
explored
sense.
using like Facebook or Instagram as a sort of medium to put out our content at the moment.
That's
Um,
fair. I do want. Actually, I know
yeah,
there is a good Facebook scene, so that might actually help. I don't know about
yeah.
Instagram though. That's beyond me.
Yeah, I haven't seen much Fab on Instagram. I don't use it very often, but I haven't seen much Fab there. There is a pretty big group on Facebook that uses it. Um, they're incidentally also the most critical. So like,
Yeah.
it's the for me personally, it's the group I've had the most arguments with, regarding like woman spaces and queer spaces in Flesh and Blood. The kind of thing where people will be like, "Are these spaces needed? Are people safe?" And then like next post down, you'll see something like quite obviously sexist, and you're like, "Well,
Right.
yes."
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so that's why we've kind of generally leaned towards Twitter as our main social media platform for this event. But we do want to put more of a focus on our website just to make things kind of more cleanly all there for those that don't want to use Twitter or who just want to see everything at once. We have ideas like putting a Twitter widget there and linking our YouTube video games there and stuff.
Cool.
So,
Yeah. No, it's a good looking website too.
hmm,
So you definitely got the works for it there, and
yeah.
we will definitely have a link to that website for anyone listening or and watching. You can go check that out. I'd recommend it. It's nice. It's fun. It's good. It's the commentary is great too. I like
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah. I thought y'all did a great job there. So,
Hmm.
yeah. I congrats to that. I'm like was blown away whenever I first heard about it. And I was like, wait, there's like a tournament going on, and yeah, and I
Hmm.
was like, oh, this is perfect. And just like watch, get some like Briar text when Briar wasn't even like playing or like
Yeah.
wasn't like a part of the meta. I was like, oh, okay, cool, finally I can get to see some Briar decks here. Yeah. And then I just want to talk just a little bit about the Discord that you have, the
Hmm.
Rainbow Foil Discord. You mentioned it earlier, making it for a place for those less represented groups, because you're absolutely right. The TCG, it is definitely a like male dominant group. There is females that play, there is transgender people that play, there's non-binary, but it is predominantly male.
Hmm.
And so I totally agree. Having that is great. My wife plays, and
Hmm.
some game stores we go to because it's great. Some game stores we don't because
Yeah.
the reality is there. So I think it is a needed space. I think if you ever question that, just take someone you or ask someone that is one of those minority groups and see what they say before judging it yourself. But yeah, if you could just give us a little bit of a almost like a sales pitch, not really a sales pitch, but tell us a little bit about the Rainbow Foil Discord.
Okay. So the Rainbow Foil Discord is an 18 plus queer server. Um, Mainly focused around Flesh and Blood, but we do have various channels as well for other interests and topics because people aren't one dimensional. There's more to them than just Flesh and Blood. So you can talk about, I don't know. A lot of queer folk will draw inspiration from their aesthetic, for example, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
especially for like gender non-conforming people, like how they present like visually with their clothes and such is a part of their identity with who they are, making them feel more comfortable. So we have like a channel for kind of affirmation with that, where people can post pictures of themselves and people can
That's
be
very
like,
cool.
"Hey, I really like your dress. I really like your button-up shirt. I love your makeup." so on and so forth. And like also maybe, they might want to ask for advice or whatever in that channel. We have channels where people can just talk about issues they have, whether it be related to being queer or just in general. Like, maybe their boss is being a horrible person that day. Um, but just kind of a way to channel if you need sort of guidance or help or whatever. There, people can post pictures of their pets, obviously, their food, TV shows they're watching, games they're playing. And then we do have like 4 channels for Flesh and Blood, as well as like gaming tables where people can kind of meet up and play on Talishar or through webcam games or whatever, and use those tables as a voice channel. But yeah, the community's fairly big, I think. I don't know. I haven't advertised it for a while because of the league at the time, but
Makes sense.
I think we're at, I want to say, 130-ish people in there at the moment.
That's a good number. That's pretty big.
Yeah, 130-ish. I think 168 officially. But yeah, no, it's just kind of a cool way to meet people that have similar experiences to you. Like, a lot of Flesh and Blood is about creating experiences, playing games in the flesh and blood, so to speak. So this is the kind of way that we can kind of all feel connected and share these experiences. Like you mentioned with you and your wife, there's some game stores you won't go to because X, Y, and Z, right? And that's like an experience that she'll have because and maybe you as well, because that space makes you uncomfortable with how they treat y'all. And
Right.
it's kind of hard to bring that experience, especially if you live in a smaller town with maybe only 1 game store or 2 game stores. And if you're in a minority community, it's hard to reach out and talk to other people about it. So that's why this Discord channel exists, is just to share these experiences and bring people together. And I've made a lot of good friends through this Discord as well.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
It's coming from a great place, so yeah, I imagine good friends come out of that. No, that's perfect. I think you've done a wonderful job with it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just so it's a invite only Discord, right?
Yeah.
So how would a person go about if, like, let's say someone's listening, like, that sounds awesome. How would the person go about finding this Discord?
So the main way people find this Discord is by messaging me through Twitter, which is at Kiki _LA 93. So it's my first name underscore, first 2 letters of my last name, and then 93.
We'll have that as well in the link.
Yeah. But the reason why we kind of do that is we kind of don't want people entering the Discord if they have malicious intent, if they're trying to sneak in or whatever. Mm-hmm. So admittedly, when you message me asking for interest, I will kind of vet your Twitter profile and just that's fair. Make sure that, I don't think you're kind of a threat kind of thing to us or whatever. Because the last thing I want to do, and one of the biggest concerns I had making this Discord, was outing people that aren't ready. There are people that are still closeted that want to learn and grow and be a part of this community, but within, say, their LGS or whatever, they're still not completely out yet. And we want to inspire them, and maybe they'll eventually come out. If they don't want to, that's also fine. But the important thing is we don't want to put them in a position where people suddenly know and they weren't ready to tell people.
That's very thoughtful. I didn't even think of that, so I wouldn't be good at making Discords at all. No, that's really cool. I think that is I think that's necessary. It's you've created a safe place, and so making it or ensuring that it's safe, I think you do the measures you have to. Yeah. And I guarantee everyone that's a part of that Discord appreciates it. So yeah, I just want to say that this is our first time meeting. So first off, huge thanks to even just consider being on the podcast, and the fact that we got this going was awesome. And I am stoked to get to know you because you're a wonderful person. I'm very happy to finally see Kiki, the person behind the rainbow pitch. Now we are going to the league, that is, we are going to eventually try to get the other 2 on the podcast as well. So
Elena Melody,
that's a goal of ours. So we're working our way up, but we appreciate you coming in on this one. That's about all my questions. Is there anything you'd like to talk about, or anything that happened or anything?
I guess the most important thing in my life right now in regards to Flesh and Blood is this league that's happening. So
Oh
check us
yeah.
out on the Pitch Perfect Podcast YouTube channel. We have all of our recorded games up there, and you can also watch some podcasts with Elaine and Melody there as well. Um, but yeah, I have nothing really else to shout out at the moment. Join the PM me, hit me up for the Rainbow Foils
Yep, yep.
Discord if that's your kind of vibe, if that's what you need in life. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I
Also, I'm
appreciate
excited
it.
for Dash.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, bright lights.
Bright
Click.
lights, Dash. Woo!
Yes, thank you once again for being on. Thank you for all who listened. I greatly appreciate it. And yeah, until the next time, keep on fabbing.